there's one more thing we need to talk about for this weekend.
Yes.
And that is what you have prepared for us.
So I watched the WEC return for race 2 at Spa, a 6-hour race. They did it this week, Saturday, which I almost forgot that they race on Saturdays. And I was super excited because last year's the Spa race was really, really fun to watch. And the first race of the season in Imola was also really good. If we remember, the last race was won by the number 8 Toyota car in the hypercar category by Sebastian Buemi. And I think the Ferrari ended up coming second. So, of course, the two big contenders we're looking for is are Toyota and Ferrari. However, going into it, so I watched only the highlights for the qualifying. I didn't watch the whole thing. And when it comes to the hypercars, actually 2 out of the 3 Ferraris. So we have 2 factory Ferraris, the number 50 and the 51. And then you have the 86, which is the yellow Ferrari. Actually, only the number 50 Ferrari had qualified in the top 10, whereas the other 2 didn't make it into the what is it, super hyperpole? Hyperpole, something like that. And the same thing for the Toyotas. Neither of the Toyotas was able to qualify for the top 10.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I knew the Ferraris didn't, but I didn't realize that the Toyotas didn't either.
Yes, if you go one link further, here we have the results. So then, really, really exciting, actually. P1 in the hypercar category, we had the number 4 Peugeot car. And really, really exciting. I think last year they qualified in 3rd, but they ended up having technical difficulties and they didn't end up, I don't know if they finished the race. Then we had the Cadillac, number 12, Hertz Team Joda qualifying in P2. And then we had 3 and 4 followed by the Alpine team. The really exciting thing, both Aston Martin made it into the top 10. You can see the Ferrari started in 8th place, the number 50 Ferrari, which is with, I think it's Pierre Guidi, Antonio Fuoco, and Nielsen, is it? I think those are the riders. Either way. Or is it Molina? It doesn't matter, right? And then we had one of the BMWs that made it into the top 10, and then the finished, that is the one with Kevin Magnussen in it, the 15, right? So before we get into it, also the GT3s, the really exciting thing is we had the number 78 Akotas Lexus starting P1. The Lexus team did really, really well last race. They qualified in the front, but both cars, unrelated from each other, had difficulties, I think, within the first 30 minutes. So neither of them really got to race, which was really, really unfortunate. Now, the race start. Before I get into it, which is really, really exciting also is that I don't know if I think she's hopefully going to be there for the remaining of the season, but one of the commentators on the side is Laura Winter.
Oh, nice.
So she was there last time. She was this time around there again. So it's really cool because obviously she's a really great host and interviewer. And so she did a little bit of interviewing. She went with Kevin Magnussen. They went around the track and they talked about each corner. So if you wanted to watch that, tune in for that. However, now getting into the race, right? Keep in mind, this is a 6-hour race. I did make notes for every single hour, right? We're not going to go through everything. We're going to go through a few things. So the start of the race, we had in the hypercars, the Peugeot immediately lost the lead to the Cadillac. The Cadillac took off, and then the Alpine was actually able to overtake 2, and then the Peugeot slipped into 3rd place, which is really, really unfortunate. However, it got really, really interesting in the GT3 category because in the GT3 category, we had, as I said, in P1, we had the Lexus, and then we had the Aston Martin in 2nd place, and in the 3rd place, we actually had a Mustang. So in both races, we had an American car on the front rows, and then the Mustang did the really incredible thing, and he ended up going into P1. They had a really sick overtake up on Eau Rouge because Eau Rouge, you cannot go side by side up Eau Rouge, right? But if you have the inside line going into Eau Rouge, you get to go ahead, right? Because you have the preferred line then. And if you're on the outside, the whole race, every time someone battle up, if you were on the left side, you're not the first one into Eau Rouge. And Eau Rouge, it is obviously the most famous corner, I think. in racing,
Yeah.
maybe. You know, it is steep uphill, it is blind,
Yeah.
and with most cars, it is actually flat out, which makes it so scary. Kevin Magnussen said in his like pre-race interview that he did with Laura Winters that it feels very much like a roller coaster, the sensation.
Oh, interesting.
Which is unusual to get in a car because you have this huge elevation change and you have all this speed, so you have a lot of like G-force that are working in both ways towards you.
Yes.
And he was like, it is a corner that it is. If you take it flat out in the hypercar, it is definitely a different beast than if you do it in a GT3 car. In a GT3 car, I think it is given that you take it flat out. In the hypercar, I don't. Sometimes they lift and coast a little bit if they are on fuel saving. But of course, because there's a long straight that comes after, what I think it's Radion, it's the second corner that's called. They, you can lose a lot of pace.
Yeah.
Going into that. But then, going back to the race, right? We have in the GT3 category, we have the Mustang make this insane overtake for P1. And then unfortunately, I believe it was in the same lab. Unfortunately, dropped it towards the end of the race. Got a little bit too ambitious. Towards the end of the track. Wheel too far out in the gravel and spun out. And then that caused the first safety car.
Oh, because they were stranded in the gravel and they
So-
couldn't
yes,
get out. Oh.
Yeah, so they were able to recover, but then that is kind of the end of the race for you.
Yeah.
So then the next incident we had between, which was really, really unfortunate, was the Cadillac ended up getting together with a GT3 car.
Like the hypercar Cadillac got together with the... Oh.
With the, yes, and it was the GT3 car's fault.
Yeah.
But I do understand that it was just a lot going on because he was just overtaken by another hypercar, and then the Cadillac came around, I think, and he was already on the way into the corner, turned in, the hypercar was there, and then the GT3 car was able to continue on later on, but the Cadillac ended up having a puncture, made it into the pits, but then there was continuous issues with the car. I think it was unrelated to it because they had a brake issue.
Yeah.
But at the end, I think at some point they returned to the race, but they were like 6 or 7 laps down, and you're not making this back up, right? 6 or 7 laps, you're not making this back up.
I mean, it's so interesting in endurance racing because I love that you have the different categories competing at the same time, which makes it so interesting with all the overtaking. And the overtaking doesn't end because they always catch back up to them again, the hypercars, you know? And it's constant, and that makes it more interesting. It also adds
a strategic element.
It adds so much to it, but it can also take away so much if things go wrong. So it's just like,
absolutely. It kind of depends on where you hit the GT3 car. Sometimes you can take it to your advantage and maybe put the GT3 car between you and the guy that's following you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But sometimes obviously it can hurt you. This is like, you see it also in Supercross, obviously, when you have the lappers. People try to obviously accommodate you, but the way it works in WEC, a lot of times it is the hypercars that will go around the GT3 cars because it makes it, you want to be, if you're the car that's overtaking, you want to be as predictable as possible. So a lot of times they will stay on the racing line, and then the hypercar will just go around them because they have so much more pace. And it makes also sense because if you constantly have to hop out of the way, it will compromise your race too much. And then we've had towards the end of the race, 6 hours in, right? Like in the 5 hours and 30 minutes, we had GT3 cars battling for positions, and then all of a sudden the hypercars are coming in, right? And they're battling for first place. So it was a truly, truly fantastic race, and I've made so many notes, right? But I'm not going to go into everything. But the one thing I do want to get into, and I think this was the race-defining moment, and that also ended in the result that we ended up getting. And so this was with around the 3-hour mark, so halfway to go. We had the Iron Lynx car that is a GT3 car, the number 79. It was overtaken by, I think it was a Toyota hypercar, but the driver in the car, his name is, oh goodness, I wrote it down. Matteo Grossini, he said that he wasn't expecting the hypercar to overtake him. So he had to take, essentially, he had to go through this, I think it's like a chicane. He had to take it off the racing line. And there were certain parts of the track that were just so dirty. So that ended up causing him to spin out. He lost traction. And then there was the number 94 Peugeot that started in P1, comes up behind. They just pitted a new driver in. I think it was a new driver. Yeah, Malte Jakobsen. And he spins and crashes. And there's no avoiding action for the hypercar. So he's been taken out of the race, right?
Oh, I
so the number
this.
94 car, at the time, I don't think they were actually fighting for P1. But obviously things change. And usually after like the 2-hour mark, I have a hard time figuring out who is net one.
Yes.
Because
based on strategy,
tire. I know that the number 8 Toyota, they pitted, I think 20 minutes earlier than everyone else, because usually the hypercar, they can do about 50 minutes on like one fuel load. The BMWs this time around, they were able to do 26 laps, which is the most amount of laps. So they were able to extend their stints the most, which of course can save you a lot of time in the end. Because I think the average hypercar pit stop, if it goes really, really well, is a minute 20. So, and I think a hypercar lap around Le Mans is a little bit over 2 minutes. So so you're losing like half a lap, right?
Around Spa, you mean?
Spa, sorry, not Le Mans. Le Mans is like 4 minutes plus or something like that, right? So he ends up getting taken out, Malte Jakobsen, by the GT3 car. And it was honestly the driver, Malte Jakobsen, he was so gracious about it. He was incredibly sympathetic also to the GT3 driver, because he was like, in the driver meeting that we had before, the race direction was so strict on do not cut the track, especially at that portion, because you could cut because there's no gravel on the inside. But they were like, and a lot of drivers already gotten a lot of drive-through penalties for track limits. And so they were super strict about it. And he was like, I get it. Like, they were told not to cut. So he was trying to do the right thing by going off the racing line. But because it was so dirty, the car just spun out. And then at that point, you're just victim of physics and inertia. And then he coming out of the pits on cold tires, he cannot avoid it, right? Because he spun back onto the track. What is he gonna do, right? And he was kind of like he was really hard on himself, Mate, the hypercar driver. And he was like, oh, I knew I was on cold tires and maybe I should have pushed not as much. But in the end, like, you don't know that, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas, or what ifs.
Yeah, and literally everyone who commentated about it and people were talking about, it's like, he is not at fault at this. Like, yes, of course he pushed, but like, imagine nothing would have happened. And then it's like, well, why did you leave? Why did you take this lap a second slower than you could have, There's always this woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? But he was so gracious about it. And he was like, there's nothing that he could have done about it, the GT3 driver, because he was trying to do the right thing. And then his race obviously over too, because he, the two cars got together. So really, really unfortunate. But that was the race-defining moment, in my opinion, because the number 20 BMW, essentially, because that ended up leading to a virtual safety car, which leads then to the safety car. But because they were able to do a full lap during full speed, because virtual safety car, I think it's 80 kilometers, they just got into the pit when the virtual safety car came on. So that meant all of a sudden, the BMW is fighting for the front. For the front rows, right? And I was going to be honest, the whole race, I was thinking, bro, I cannot believe this. There's not a German manufacturer in the front row, right? Because we don't have the Porsche hypercar this year anymore, right? Which is so unfortunate. The BMW, unfortunately, hasn't been as strong ever since I've been watching WEC. And then also in the GT3 category, where usually the Porsche is strong. Last year we had Mante, like the GT3s, the Porsche Mante has won back-to-back Le Mans, and I believe last year the Porsche won actually because the Iron Dames, they were doing really, really well, and then they had to do a last-minute pit because the person on the strategy, they were like, no, you can push, and then they were like, no, you have to come into the pits. It was like, bro, Why did you tell her?
I know.
Anyway, it's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other crash out.
But this was essentially race defining because those seconds that the BMW saved and also being on that fuel saving strategy or like being able to maximize the amount of laps you can do. And then so towards the end, all of a sudden, we had the number 20 BMW in first place, and then we had the number 15 BMW in second place. So the big thing was towards the end, the last hour, is that they put Kevin Magnussen into the car, right? Kevin did the first stint, and he already had done a really long stint. I think in the Imola race, he did over 3 hours because you're not required to do 3 drivers. You have the option to.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and that's what you do, right? If you have to defend a position, you put Kevin Magnussen in it, right? If there's literally anyone you want to put in it, it's Kevin, right?
Yeah.
And the difficult thing for Kevin was this: while the BMW had good pace and was good in race in fuel saving, he was on 23 old lap tires, right? And the Ferrari that was behind, there was a Toyota behind, and there was Aston Martin behind. They were all on fresh tires. So he had to go on the defensive. And it got so crazy the last hour. Whereas right at around the hour mark, the 51 Ferrari was taken out by a GT3 car that caused a safety car. Then we had and then with 30 minutes to go, this was crazy. We had the 009 Aston Martin. It was fighting the Alpine, I believe it was, and they were just coming up on Rouge, and then it goes this very long straight, and the Aston Martin is trying to do the overtake on. Is it the Aston Martin? Right, tries to do the overtake on the. Was it Alpine? Sorry, I'm just the Aston Martin trying to overtake, right? Ends up the Alpine closes the door, the Aston Martin goes onto the grass, crashes out, right? Done for the race. Then 23 minutes to go, the Alpine spins out going up on Rouge, and I showed you the clip. And if you have a minute, go back and watch the WEC highlights. He missed the 007 Aston Martin by an inch.
By the what's it called? By the things of their pants.
By the seam?
No, I don't think that's the right. By the
friction of the shirt. It was so the good thing is the Aston saw that something was up, right? And he was braking because we saw the onboard. But the Alpine, obviously being a victim to inertia, just all of a sudden shoots across the racetrack. I think it was backwards. Yeah. And the Aston avoided this by such a small margin. It was insane. It was absolutely crazy. Then we had another safety car situation. And then this was really unfortunate. So in the GT3 category, we had the Ferrari leading the race. And then with 16 minutes to go, the GT3 Ferrari gets a 5-second penalty for an unsafe release that they did during the safety car. What so incredibly unfortunate, because that ended up catapulting the Ferrari out of the podium because all of the safety cars at the end ended up bunching the whole track together again. Was not able to make a big enough gap, so didn't even tumble out of first place, tumbled all the way off of the podium into fourth. So that meant that in the GT3 category, the number 10, the Garage 59 McLaren, who was amazing, incredible speed, ended up coming first. And we had the Aston Martin Heart of Racing team, which, if you ever heard that car live, it sounds insane. We heard it last year. Oh my God, it sounds so good. Came in second. And then, fortunately, we did have the Ben Manthe, the Porsche, came in third. Yes. But I'm so excited to announce that we had a BMW 1-2, the number 20 BMW coming in first, number 15 BMW came second, and then we had the number 50 Ferrari coming in third place, and then the Aston Martin came fourth. There was the Aston Martin also was on completely opposite strategy towards the end. It was the only hypercar on track that was on a soft tire, but they were able to hunt down the number 7 Toyota. I think it was Kobayashi that was in it and was able to overtake it towards the end, and they ended up coming fourth. And if you think about it, this is their second season in...
I was just gonna say, that's insane.
This is a Adrian Newey built car, right? So next year is the Aston Martin we have to take a look at at F1, right? Not this year. Look at next year.
Yeah.
But also, I think, of course, being so excited for BMW, I'm super excited, of course, to see a German. I know it is. So it's a German. Yeah. It's a German manufacturer, right? German car. But it is a Belgian run team, I believe. So, of course, Spa being in Belgium, it is the closest you get for a home team winning at home. Yeah. It is so incredibly awesome for them. And then, of course, the another standout performance you have to give it to the number 17 Genesis Magma Racing team that are in their second race in the WEC ever, finished in 8th place. So that means that they're got points in their second race.
Yes.
What a fantastic performance. Really, really awesome. I'm so happy for them. Their team manager is a woman.
Oh.
Her name is Anouk. I forgot her last name. But I think she had a lot of experience also working for Hyundai there, because Hyundai and Genesis, obviously, same situation. And so really, really happy for them. Of course, in the end, who knows what this means, because all of this is for them. They're just collecting data. I know that the other Genesis car had more issues again. This is I think it's like a light blue gray.
Yeah, that's the gray one, and then they have a black one.
Yeah, the one that looks a little bit more like a Elantra N, I think. A little bit more like the rally colors. But yeah, again, what I really have to say about the WEC, such a great race. And so here's the thing, like MotoGP, right? What is the race? Like 50 minutes, right? And I'm saying this, MotoGP, I would say 9 out of 10 times they have really strong races, right? But this weekend I was like, not once during the 6 hours I was like, nothing's happening, because constantly people were overtaking or challenging each other, and we had a good stint throughout the middle where there was no safety car.
That's incredible.
You know, we had the safety car right at the beginning where like, you know, sometimes it can be like a... but the racing was so interesting and so competitive. And it makes me really, really excited for Le Mans. I think also because we've had now different manufacturers in the front. I don't think BMW has ever won in Spa in the hyper category. And it is just so exciting to see also that BMW is doing well. You know,
I'm also excited for Kevin Magnussen.
Absolutely. I'm a big Kevin Magnussen fan. And he had a few moments in this race where he was defending so hard, especially, of course, at the end. But there was also a battle with him and Giovinazzi. And the thing about this, like with Kevin, right? You're going to overtake him. You better have the room for it, because he will not give you an inch. And he actually ran Gio wide, and they reviewed it, but he was like, he didn't have the right to the space. So Kevin, if he wants to shut the door all the way, he is.
You best believe that Kevin will shut the door
if there's one person who's gonna do it, is Kevin, right? And it was just such an amazing race. And even though I've talked about it now, at least go back and watch the highlights, or I mean, listen, it's on HBO, or if you have the WEC Plus, watch it on there. It was a truly amazing race. I'm so excited for Le Mans. We're about a month and a week away from it. This upcoming weekend we have the Nürburgring, but they don't have the hypercars. Fortunately, you don't need the hypercars on that. No. But yeah, I'm super excited. Absolutely phenomenal race. If you guys can see, I've made all of these. Oh my goodness! I'm showing here my.
Personal stuff.
Nah, that's fine. Like, I made all of these notes.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was just like, just in case, you know? Because it is quite easy to just forget what happens. But yeah, it was truly a fantastic race. I'm so, just WC is awesome.
Nice.
And they had the most amount of people ever attend.
Amazing.
Over 100,000, I think 101,000 people over the race weekend. I think last year they were at 98, so we cracked that 100K. Really, really exciting. It's also exciting to see that the sport is growing, right? Next year we'll get the McLaren hypercar.
Yes.
It is just a ever-growing sport. I do hope that we'll get another German constructor on. Yeah. I know Porsche won't be anytime soon because you don't abandon it to come back 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Right. But I've never heard them talk about it. But Mercedes, what about Audi? Yeah. You know, depending on how their F1 situations might go.
Opel.
Yeah, I'd be down for all of that.
Any of them. Yeah, well, we'll see. But it sounds like it was an amazing race. I mean, I'd seen glimpses of it.
You've seen the last hour because you were watching on your phone and I was watching
on the big screen.
On the big screen, but I did have headphones on. But at some point you were like, you heard me because there was a lot happening in the last hour.
Yes.
Or if you want to just watch a little bit, maybe watch the last hour and a half or something like that, because it was a lot happened.
Yes.
And the racing was awesome.
Yes. I mean, we had an excellent race weekend. We watched lots of racing.
Yeah.
We had watched lots of excellent racing. There was a lot of beautiful moments. There were some heartbreak moments. I mean, it was definitely an emotional roller coaster this weekend.
Absolutely.
But so worth it.
Absolutely.
We'll be back on Thursday again with our What to Watch.
Yes, I think I know we're only in May and technically this is pretty early on into the racing season. But it's been an awesome.
Yeah.
I know we complained F1's been off so much, but all the other series have truly showed up.
They've been delivering.
They've been delivering. And if you are someone who doesn't watch a lot of other things, I truly encourage you because it is so incredibly competitive in so many of the different championships. Do not miss out.
Nope, do not miss out. And remember to give us a like and subscribe.
Yes. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on everything we've said. Every single thing I said, you need to comment on.
Good luck with that. All right, bye guys.
Bye-bye.